This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Hindustan Times, in its editorial titled, "Why India Escaped the Heat on the ASAT Test," writes, on Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the successful test of an anti-satellite ASAT missile by India. With this test, India has joined a select group of nations which have demonstrated this capability. The last country to do a successful test was China in 2007. The test by China was widely censured by the international community. In contrast, life for India has been much more comfortable after Wednesday's test. Pakistan's response has been critical, that is, Pavlovian. But China's response has been guarded, and it has simply expressed the hope that peace and tranquility in outer space will be maintained. Most importantly, the response from the United States has been cautiously supportive. In its response to India's test, the US State Department invoked shared interest in space and scientific and technical cooperation. New Delhi has done well to exploit this image, enlist itself into this elite space powers club. India's test, or a future test by any country, may push the global community to enforce a freeze on further tests. India missed the bus when the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons (NPT) decided on 1st of January 1974. The global community responded by developing export control regimes like the Nuclear Suppliers Group, which specifically targeted India. The ASAT missile test may just have saved India from repeating old mistake. The Asian Age, in its editorial titled, "ASAT Test Showcases India's," which is a marriage of missile and space technologies, and became only the fourth country after the United States, the former Soviet Union, now Russia, and China to do so. The satellite our scientists killed was 300 kilometers in low orbit above the Earth. The Chinese had demonstrated a similar capability in 2007 by hitting a useless satellite of theirs 500 kilometers above. It's an open question whether a proven capability to strike a satellite in the lower reaches of space, which we have just demonstrated, automatically means we can also hit satellite plates in higher orbits. Having embarked on this path, perhaps it's a matter of time when we will need to shoot missiles at higher placed satellites just to be doubly sure. The Times of India, in its editorial title, "For Real Shakti," says, India's successful testing of an anti-satellite missile to destroy a satellite flying in low Earth orbit has catapulted it into an elite club comprising only of US, Russia and China previously. The anti-satellite ASAT capability certainly adds to India's defense strategic heft. However, if you break it down, what it amounts to is that in the unlikely event that China chooses to intervene in an India-Pakistan conflict by knocking out Indian satellites and thus blinding India, New Delhi now has a deterrent. It can knock off some Chinese satellites too. Such a cosmic feat won't resolve more earthbound everyday problems such as how to seal the LOC against regular terrorist incursions from the Pakistani side. The Hindu, in its editorial title, "Power in Space," writes, India has entered an elite space club with the Defense Research and Development Organization blowing up a satellite in a low Earth orbit into smithereens. Such Indian capability to take out moving objects has never really been in doubt. The DRDO announced it as early as in 2011. Indeed, India has been in business of testing long-range missiles for years, although public attention on these space programs has been mostly on its civilian and scientific aspects. The military dimensions, though always latent, has not seen a verifiable demonstration as in the case of Mission Shakti at the anti-satellite ASAT missile test. The display of technological prowess through the test accentuates the military dimension and brings into play an overwhelming assurance of what the Ministry of External Affairs describes as a credible deterrence against attacks on India's growing number of space assets. And those were the comments from the press presented to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.
This is All India Radio. The program